Hey, what's up, everyone? Paul Jensen here, and yeah, this is our first episode post-draft. Just had our fantasy draft. Um, just want to do a little bit of a recap, just kind of run down what was interesting, go over the rosters, see who has a good-looking roster, see who needs some improvement. Also wanted to look at some free agents that are still out there that you might be thinking about picking up. You never know; they could be help. And then also just want to cap off this episode by just taking an early look at the matchups. I know the lineups won't be set in stone or anything like that, but it's just something that is going to be interesting to look at just to see who I think has the edge on week one. And again, these are all just my opinions, so take that what you will with it. I don't know if I said that right. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to share my screen on the other monitor now and I'm just going to assume that you can now see everything that I see. So, draft recap. Yeah, that was pretty interesting, I'd say. The first couple rounds for sure. Obviously the first two, Jefferson and Chase, pretty basic first two picks right there. How about that? Aunt Carroll, Bama Carroll, going with her LSU Tiger, Jamar Chase. Good job, Carroll. But then yeah, pick three, Uncle Tom throwing a little bit of a curve. I mean, I'd say he's worth a third overall pick, but you don't really see that much. You see Tyreek usually fall somewhere like in the six, seven, maybe even like late nine, 10 category. But it's very interesting. Uncle Tom went for it. He got his guy. Good on you. Um, and then yeah, it just goes from there. Carey getting Nick Chubb, pick number six overall. I mean, that's a very interesting pick. I mean, I like Nick Chubb. I think he's a good player. We'll see how that turns out for Carey. And then obviously with the whole injury to Travis Kelce, I mean he should be fine uh, moving forward. We don't know if he's going to play tomorrow or not against the Lions to open the season, but it does look like uh, Dad got a little bit of a steal there at seven. And then John going with Bijan, myself going with Derrick Henry, and then Adrian going two receivers back to back. Diggs and Lamb. Wow. So I was pretty shocked that Devontae was available here. I really thought he would go late first or maybe even Adrian would pick him instead. But hey, you know what? He was available, so I really wanted to take him. And I know he's got not as good of a quarterback this year with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I feel like Devontae's been good no matter who's been throwing it to him. I mean, if you don't remember well back long ago, Brett Hundley was the quarterback for the Packers when Aaron Rodgers was down, and Devontae was still uh, playing really well even with Brett. So I mean, I think Devontae is a good value pick there. And then John Lopp, man, another good value pick. Saquon Barkley, round two. I did not see that coming at all. I think that's a great pickup for John Lopp. Um, re re excellent job there, in my opinion. And then the rest of these first round picks are kind of all uh, standard, typical late second round picks. And then we go to the third round. I'm not going to do all the rounds. I just wanted to cover some things that were interesting to me. Go to the third round. Carroll first picking the first quarterback off the board, and of course it's a former Bama quarterback, Jalen Hurts. So good on you, Carroll, getting your Bama guy. Um, and then mom getting Josh Allen. I figured that was a really excellent pick by her. And then, of course, Uncle Tom going with Patrick Mahomes. So I got the three quarterbacks, top three quarterbacks getting out of the way in the third round, which was expected just a little earlier than usual. Usually you'd see them maybe mid, late third round or early fourth, but that was those are all good pickups by them. And then Dad, I don't know if you remember the pre-draft episode. I think my dad was very he was like, "Oh, I'd love to get Chris Olave at pick 27, but I don't think he'll be available." Well, there you go, Dad. He was available right there for you at pick 27. So kudos, you got your guy in the third round, Chris Olave, and then John, man, and this one's a little interesting because Cooper Kupp's going to be out for a while. I mean, he's definitely out week one. He might even be out week two, but uh, Cooper Kupp in round three. I mean, I know injuries play a huge role in it, but wow. Like who knows? Like if Cooper Kupp can come back quick and he has a pretty good solid year as to his standards, then man, John Lop getting potentially two huge steals in rounds 2 and 3, in my opinion. So, man, good job, John. Way to go. Um, and yeah, and then from there on, it's make of it what you will. I just wanted to note a few personal things on mine, and I know a lot of you don't care, but I just thought it was kind of funny. Round 5, I was this close. I was this close to getting my guy, Justin Herbert. I was this close. And then, of course, John Lopp, the guy who's had a good draft so far, comes in and just takes him right from me. Man, so that really got me shook a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But you know what? Bounced back and recovered from that. And the same thing actually happened to me in round 7. So, but then I kind of saw this one coming a little bit more. Uh, I was interested in getting Trevor Lawrence, but I knew that Carrie needed a quarterback, and I figured, man, she's gonna get Trevor. He's 16. He's an even number, so that even worked out for her too. But yeah, all in all, good overall draft. And again, round 8, John Lopp, Jonathan Taylor. Now that one's a little bit tricky because you don't know if Taylor's gonna be hurt long term or if he's gonna um be in some sort of contract dispute or if he's gonna get traded. Like, we just don't know what's gonna go down with Jonathan Taylor. So uh, John Lopp really going for those risky picks, and I respect that. So good job, John. Okay, so that was basically a quick recap of the early portion of the draft. Um, it went pretty well, in my opinion. Like to know what you guys thought, what your thoughts were. I mean, it seemed like a pretty good typical standard draft with a few surprises here and there. So I did like that. There we go. So now I just want to take a look at everyone's roster, just to kind of give you all my opinion on whose rosters look good, who I think needs a little bit of improvement. Right off the bat, going to CB's Titans, Aunt Carroll, getting her Bama guy, Jalen Hurts. Well done. Good very solid running backs just in the starter slot. Again, this is all subject to change, so we don't even know if Carroll's going to be picking up any free agents or if she's going to be moving guys around. But just from the look of it at the time the draft ended, these are two pretty good, solid running backs. Joe Mixon, Rashad White. You can be the main back in Tampa Bay. There's no more Leonard Fournette. Um, and then you just want to hope that Joe Mixon stays out of legal trouble, which I know has been an issue in the past, but I still think on the field he's a really good running back. So Jamar Chase, great, excellent pick. Deontay Johnson, he's an okay guy. You know, he's kind of competing with like George Pickens, so we don't know who's going to be the number one receiver. I mean, it might be Deontay for now, but George Pickens is the up and comer for Pittsburgh, so we'll see how that goes. Evan Ingram, solid tight end. Um, Isaiah Pacheco, I thought he was a huge sleeper. Like I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to go off this year. I really do. Uh, so kudos to Aunt Carroll for picking him up. And then Steelers defense solid, Matt Gay solid. And then looking at her bench, one thing that pops out is there's no backup quarterback, so she's all in on Jalen Hurts. Now, obviously, when the Eagles bye week comes, she'll be able to drop one of these guys and then pick someone up. But just making that statement of, hey, I going all in, excuse me, going all in with Jalen Hurts, that's awesome. Good for you. Um, and then Dalvin Cook on the bench, I think that's pretty good. I mean, he's going to be splitting time with Breece Hall and Michael Carter this year, so who knows exactly if he's going to be up to. I mean, he's not going to be up to his level like that he was 2 years ago or anything like that, but he'll definitely be a really good option to have at running back, especially if Rashad White comes slow out of the gate or if Joe Mixon gets some sort of trouble or can't figure things out or if anything happens with Pacheco. And then she got my guy, Rashad Penny, of course, San Diego State Aztecs. So much respect to Aunt Carroll. Um, Also going with rookie receiver Zay Flowers, who I think is going to be good. So all in all, pretty solid roster for Aunt Carroll. Really think it's going to go far this year. Next, moving on to Uncle Tom, and boy, do I envy Uncle Tom. I don't say that much, but wow. I mean, you got Mahomes, you got Jacobs, leading rusher from last year. Kenneth Walker is like sneaky good pickup right there. I really like Kenneth Walker and him being the main back in Seattle. I mean, he picked Tyreek Hill third overall at receiver, and he helped me out last year, that's for sure. So he's going to be really well, especially having Mahomes as the quarterback and Jacobs as running back, like that top three right there, top quarterback, top running back, top receiver. Oof, can't get much better than that in terms of the quality of the top of each one. And then Devontae Smith, again, another good, really good wide receiver. He has a top three tight end in TJ Hawkinson. I mean, and Christian Watson, yeah, he's dealing with some injuries, but he's the number one receiver in Green Bay and Green Bay and Watson, man, I'm telling you, I mean, I know I'm a biased Packers fan, but I like Watson. I think he'll do really good this year. Um, and then his bench, I'm not gonna lie, his bench is a little underwhelming, but you know what? I could be wrong. I could be totally dead wrong. But I'm just looking at his starters, man, and the Bills defense. How did I forget to mention that? Wow, like Uncle Tom, kudos to you. I think you kicked ass. Good job. Moving on to Ben. Uh, Already going with Justin Fields at QB. Now, a lot of sports pundits out there are making the claims that Justin Fields is going to go off this year. He's going to be an MVP candidate. Now that he's got DJ Moore, a good receiver to throw to, oh, like look out. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be bad. He's a third year player, so he's likely to improve. And he's still a threat running the ball just as he is throwing. But I am a little bearish on Justin Fields. Not to say he's going to be bad. I don't think he's going to be a bust or anything like that. But I don't think he'll be quite up there. But hey, you know what? Prove me wrong, Ben, please. And still, your team name, man. Like I talked to Maggie about this. When are you going to update the team name, bro? Come on. You got to get a little more creative. At least call yourself the Skyline Blackjacks or something like that. Um, Running backs, great. McCaffrey, ETN, good job. Brown, Ridley, two number one receivers. I Ridley's going to be a sneaky good pick this year. I mean, my dad's scarred by him for life, but Calvin Ridley, I think he'll be, especially with Trevor Lawrence getting better and better. I really like Ridley at that spot for you. So uh, those four right there are really solid. Chris Godwin as your flex, another one, another good one. I mean, yes, he's got Baker Mayfield thrown to him now, but I still think he's a good quality starting wide receiver, and he'll get his catches. It is a PPR league, so the more as long as he's in there starting and with a quality quarterback, he'll be good. He'll be fine. And then David Njoku at tight end, real solid. Ben picking up the Packers defense, man. Look at you. Look at you picking up the Packers defense. And so, I mean, you got the Bears starting quarterback, you got the Packers defense. Now, you did get your Viking kicker in Greg Joseph, so kudos. I don't see any. Actually, never mind. I do see. I was gonna say I didn't see any Bengals, but I do see one. Tyler Boyd here at the bottom. So you got your Bengal. You got your good job. Cole Kmet is a back. I mean, I guess you could really interchange Kmet and Njoku at tight end. That's pretty good tight end combo you got there. I really like that. And then going with some sneaky, like your bench is pretty solid. Mike Williams is a really good. And Amari Cooper. How did I forget that? Amari Cooper's the number one receiver for the Cleveland Browns. So like really good receiver depth for Ben here. Mike Williams and Amari Cooper being the first two off your bench. And those are 4 and 5 when you have a third receiver at flex. So I really like Ben's receiver depth. And then another Packer, AJ Dillon. Wow, Ben, you're really going for that reverse psychology sort of thing. Pick all the players from teams they don't like and hope they and that way you'll win either way. So if they do good, then your fantasy team does well. If they don't do good, then hey, it's in your personal fan interest. So way to go, Ben. Tennessee touchdowns, mom. Very, very it was a draft. I'm just kidding. You had a pretty good draft. I mean, whenever you can get Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, and Garrett Wilson as your top QB running back receiver trio, that's a good job. Like honestly, good job. Alexander Madison's going to be the starter in Minnesota now, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. No more Dalvin Cook, so that could be a really good, sneaky good pickup there. Christian Kirk is your second receiver. I think it's all right. And then you got George Pickens, who I like. A lot of people like. I mean, he's one of those up and coming guys. A lot of people think he'll be a stud. He could pass Deontay as receiver one in the Steelers depth chart, so could be a really good pickup by mom there. Darren Waller getting a top four tight end. It's always good when you can get a top tier tight end. You don't want to be caught near the back end of the draft and having like a seven, like a 6 through 10 tight end as your starter or anything lower than that, in my opinion. But that's just me. Going with the Cowboys defense, and then Harrison Butker, old reliable Harry Butt. That's what we called him when we lived in KC. But yeah, so good quality lineup there. As far as your depth goes, I mean, I like that you got your Iowa State boys, you got your Allen Lazards, your Brock Purdy's of the world. So had to get those two, of course. I mean, hey, Alan Lazard, working with a QB he's familiar with, and Aaron Rodgers, so that's good. And then Brock Purdy, you never know, right? Like Brock Purdy could continue his success from last year, and he could be even better. You just never know. And I mean, you're not really going to use him that much, especially with having Josh Allen as a quarterback. Knock on wood. But yeah, and then another good pickup. I really like your pickup of Quentin Johnston, the rookie receiver for the Chargers. Keenan. I drafted Keenan Allen. I have a thing with him. Like he's kind of like my good luck charm at this point. I've had him for I think 2 or 3 straight years now, and I've been pretty successful. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Mike Williams, though, the second receiver for the Chargers, he gets hurt a lot. Keenan Allen gets hurt from time to time, but I feel like Mike Williams actually gets hurt a lot. So having Quentin Johnston there for depth at receiver, I think it's really good to have. So I think that was a really good pickup for you, Mom. Moving on to Nashville Packer fan, Dad. And this is a pretty good one too. He got his guy, Chris Olave. I really like that pick for Dad. Way to go. Your starting running backs, I think, are pretty underrated. Tony Pollard's the full-time back now in Dallas. No more splitting time with Zeke. So I actually think that's a really good pickup for Dad, especially early in the second round. And then getting James Conner. James Conner is one of those, like, the Cardinals are going to be really bad this year, so and they don't really have any good QBs. They got Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. So they're going to be a very run first football team, and James Conner is going to be a very very solid starting running back in fantasy. So, and I don't think I had him in this league last year, but I did have him in a few other leagues last year, and he definitely helped me out. I really think James Conner is going to be sleeper as far as like one of the top running backs in this league in terms of production value. So good job, Dad. Going with Travis Kelce. I mean, you kind of had to. I mean, yes, he got hurt, so he might not even play tomorrow, but that's okay. You'll have him for the rest of the season. Getting him, I think you were pick 7, if I'm not mistaken. Getting him at 7, very, very good pickup right there, Dad. So good job. He's gonna be a stud. Lamar QB, you got the dual threat. You just gotta hope he stays healthy. He's been hurt at the end of the season the last couple of years, so that's a little concerning. But as far as, having him start out the year, he usually always comes out the gates flaming. So I think that's your lineup here, especially with Debo, who I didn't even mention. Debo's a really good, like he can work out of the backfield as a running back. He can catch those quick little shovel passes and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of potential, especially in PPR. So that's really good right there. And then Michael Pittman, working with a rookie quarterback who you have as your backup, Anthony Richardson. But I think like Michael Pittman might be one of those under the radar guys. He was a lot higher the last couple of years, but now that he's like a rookie quarterback and then they're a rookie head coach, it's really unknown how the Colts offense is going to look this year. But when you have a number one receiver like that going into, I think it's his third season now, it really could be a good pickup, and I think it's a good one. Looking at your bench, again, Anthony Richardson going with the rookie QB. It's not a bad idea, especially having Lamar Jackson at your starting QB because you just never know with Lamar with his injury history, and you always see the one or two rookie QBs who surprise everyone. And Anthony Richardson, everyone's calling him a project. He's got a lot of arm talent, and if he can put it all together, man, that could be one great steal of a pick. And then one thing that really shocked me, you went with two defenses. Look at this. Ravens and Saints. Look at you being proactive, thinking ahead. I mean, wow. That's a good job. I mean, I know it's not the first time I've seen that, but it definitely is a lot more rare, I'd say, these days. But good job. And going off of matchups, I'm assuming, or maybe you looked at the Ravens bye week and were like, "Hey, who are the Saints? Who's playing the worst offensive team that week?" I don't know what your logic was there, but it could work out. And who knows? He might look like a genius after all this. So very good job. And I think Javonte Williams also very sneaky good pickup there for your bench. Good flex guy to have. Last year I was super high on this guy. It sucks because he tore his ACL, or I think that was his injury, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But Javonte Williams, I was really high on him last year. He was like a solid second round, late second round, early third round pick last year, and unfortunately he just got hurt. But I really do like I like Javonte as I must have said freshman as a rookie, but yeah, he just got to get healthy, and once he's back and 100%, I really do like Javonte. So I think you got a pretty much a steal there at your third running back in your depth chart. And then going to my roster, I liked the draft up until that pick where John swooped in and picked Herbert. Then I was like, what am I gonna do here? But yeah, I this my quarterback situation not looking good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, if Tua can stay healthy, hopefully he does not get any concussions this year. Pray to the football gods that Tua has a happy, healthy 2023 football season, please. But if he can stay healthy, having Tyreek and Waddle, that offense, oh man, that would be scary. I would love to see Tua just ball out this year and maybe even be a comeback player of the year kind of thing, where he comes back from injury and proves all the doubters wrong. So go Tua, but on paper, compared to everyone else's team, I give my quarterback grade an F, honestly, because I whiffed. And I will admit it. I'm really cocky at times, but I'm also realistic. And to be 100% honest, I dropped the ball when it came to drafting a QB this year. Now, I could be way wrong by the end of the season. Like who knows? Maybe Tua would have been pickup of the year. You just never know. Or maybe even picking Aaron Rodgers as my backup. Maybe he goes back to MVP form. I don't know. But we'll see how it goes. Getting Derrick Henry and Najee Harris, I really like that. Not I was high on Najee last year. I kind of wanted to draft him last year, but it didn't chips didn't fall for me there. But now that I have him, I'm huge. I'm so stoked on Najee Harris. I'm glad that I got him especially along with Derrick Henry, like two real power backs. Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen, two stud receivers. I know they're both getting up there in age a little bit, especially Keenan. And Keenan gets hurt from time to time, but they're both super reliable receivers when they're on the field. They're consistently getting at least, double-digit points every single week. I like the value that I got. Kyle Pitts, it's his third year in the league as a tight end. Atlanta really doesn't have many receiving options other than Drake London, and maybe they'll use Bijan Robinson as like a pass catching back out of the backfield from time to time. But I really like Kyle Pitts. I feel like I had to get him. I didn't want to land in that category of lower tier tight ends, so I was able to pick him up there. Miles Sanders, starting running back for the Panthers. Again, I think it's one of those like James Conner situations where the Panthers they have a rookie QB. No one's really expecting them to do much this year. They have a pretty underrated offensive line. A lot of young talent on that offensive line for Carolina. So if they can put it all together, I think they can have a good solid run game, especially one that, they'll want to run a lot, especially having Bryce Young at the as a rookie QB first overall pick. So yeah, I really like that. And 49ers defense, I knew it. I was the first one. I had to do it. I saw the opportunity was there. I had to do it, especially not having a good QB on my team. I feel like all my other positions needed to be strong. And I saw no one had picked the defense yet, and I went for it. So sue me. But yeah, 49ers defense. And then I really like my bench. And I know it's me. I'm talking about myself, being a little bit self-absorbent here, but seriously though, like Terry McLaurin is on my bench, and most other circumstances, he would be at least as a flex receiver. Now I know he's hurt, but he'll be back. He might even be back this weekend for week one. But as the season goes on, if something happens to Allen or Adams or maybe Sanders isn't doing well, I got a pretty great guy to put in at flex or receiver. So I like that. Cam Akers, A lot of people don't know much about him, but like he's the number one full number one back in LA with the Rams. You know, the Rams don't really. It's kind of similar with James Conner a little bit, not to that degree. I think James Conner is still well above Cam Akers, but the Rams aren't going to be, they're not expected to be that good this year, especially with Cooper Kupp out these first couple of weeks. Their offense is going to be very like just stale, stagnant. So they're going to rely heavily on the run, especially when they get in, if they're ever in the red zone. I feel like I mean, you still have Matthew Stafford. He's coming off injury. He says he's not really connecting with the young receivers well. So I like the run game opportunity for Cam Akers. So I really think that's a good, solid backup running back sort of pickup. And then Brandon Cooks, he left Houston, which good for him. Get out of there. I mean, they got a new coach, they got a new culture and everything, but I like Brandon Cooks as a number two. He went from being a number one receiver on the worst team ever to being the number two receiver on a really good playoff team. So I do like having that option, having Brandon Cooks. And then Jamal Williams, I thought this was a straight steal. I mean, he led the league in touchdowns last year, didn't he? I think he was either that or at least touchdown runs. But Jamal Williams, man, and he's going to be starting the first 3 weeks of the season, so I might have to move some players around and replace Sanders or think about putting him in the lineup because Alvin Kamara's suspended for the first 3 weeks. So Jamal Williams is going to get a lot of playing time, and when it's those he's the vulture. He's the guy that comes in when you're starting running back, like he did to Swift last year. Your starting running back does well, gets all the yards, gets all the catches, and it comes to the goal line and he just gets those first and goal, the ones, touchdowns. So I really like that. Um, Aaron Rodgers, again, just for insurance. Juju Smith-Schuster, number one receiver in New England. I'm not really expecting much from him, but whatever. And then, of course, near the end of the draft, I realized I did not have a single Packer on my roster, and and Luke Musgrave was a pretty high tight end coming out of the draft, and I felt like, let's give him a chance. Why not? I mean, he's not going to play much, if at all, and if later in the season, I'll probably drop him if he's not doing well and just pick up someone else for a week 11 tight end when Kyle Pitts is on bye. So that's that. Um, Dallas Donuts, Adrian. Uh, You've been a thorn in my side for years. And you know what? I'm gonna stop being nice right now. Adrian, I think your lineup's a little bit overrated. I'm not even gonna lie. And you know what? I don't care if that makes people hate me or if that makes people laugh along, saying, huh, can't believe Paul just called out Adrian. But I'm gonna call you out. Now you do have some good players, I will admit. You have Stephon Diggs, you have CeeDee Lamb, your starting receivers and your tight end, Mark Andrews. Great job. I do think having Stevenson and Dobbins as your two starting running backs could have done a little better, but you know what? That's fine. DeAndre Hopkins, he's aging in receiver, and I know he's not old, but like he's getting a little older. He's gone to a team that's super run heavy with Derrick Henry, and his quarterback, like the level of quarterback that he's gone from, you know, it's just going down. You're going from Kyler Murray to Ryan Tannehill, and Ryan Tannehill, who knows how long he's going to be playing in Tennessee, but you just never know. He could be what Tennessee needs to, improve their passing game, but I just right now I'm just not impressed. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I could be again. I'm going to say this a lot this year. I could be wrong. Prove me wrong, Adrian. Prove me wrong. Deshaun Watson at QB. Okay. Eagles defense, that's pretty solid. Actually like that. And then with Justin Tucker, going reaching for that number one kicker. I saw what you did. Yeah, you pulled me with defense. What I did with defense, you did with kicker. So kudos. Um, your depth's all right. I do like your depth. I'll be honest with your depth. Drake London being your fourth receiver, that's nice. DeAndre Swift is a good bench guy. He's gonna be splitting time with my boy Rashad in Philly, so who knows how that'll exactly work, but I think he's a good player. Same thing with Gibson. Gibson and Brian Robinson are splitting time in Washington. And then going with Zeke, you just kind of taking a flyer on him, see maybe he can find some success in New England. Um, but yeah, overall, so far my least favorite roster of the night. So anyway, moving on to Garrett. I like Garrett's roster. DK and Justin Jefferson, two great receivers to start. Aaron Jones, my one of my favorite Packers. Good job. Dameon Pierce, very underrated running back. I like that pickup, Garrett. Dameon Pierce is gonna be really good, especially with a young offense that has a young quarterback who's not gonna be throwing it too much. I mean, obviously he'll be throwing it, but like, you know what I mean? Like he's a really good year number two running back that they're gonna rely on that offense. And then having Joe Burrow. Hopefully Joe Burrow stays healthy. I was worried he was going to be hurt, by the time season started. I don't think so. He'll be playing, so just got to hope he stays well. Dallas Goedert, very good tight end. I think he's like in that 5, 6, 7 range in tight end, but I do like that for you. Jerry Jeudy, he got carted off the field during practice, I think. Um, but he should be, but long term, should be a good pickup, especially behind DK and Jefferson. Yeah, I think that's a really good receiver room. It might even be one of the best receiver rooms in, I mean, maybe other than the top two for Adrian. But yeah, Dolphins defense. I mean, yeah, they got Jalen Ramsey. I'm not really, I mean, he's not gonna be playing until like late in the season though, I think. But either way, it might be more just of a matchup thing. Who knows? And then I do like your bench. Mike Evans being your top receiver on your bench is good. George Kittle, I think that was another steal, by the way. You got George Kittle late in the draft. I did notice that. So you got Kittle and Goddard. I mean, you can interchange those two. You could trade one of them for some assets. So I mean that's pretty solid. Odell Beckham and Cortland Sutton, two other wide receiver ones. So I do love your receiver group. I feel like you might have the best receiver group as far as, you know, from where they're spotted on your roster. I do like that. And then Jared Goff, backup QB. He had very underrated year last year. And the Lions are on the up and up. I think Jared Goff, especially, you just never know if Burrow has some off weeks, or if something happens to him, God forbid, you know, but yeah, Jared Goff, I like that pickup. So overall, I really do like your roster, Garrett. I think you did a really good job. Even Stevens. Now I did an audit on this one. Yes, I did. And Carrie, you almost nailed it. You're one player off, and that's T. Higgins. He's 85. That's an odd number. So looks like you were almost perfect, but you just made one tiny mistake. See what I did there? Okay. Anyway, I'm weird. Anyway, but you got Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll be he's one of those guys. He's one of those risers. So I think if he plays really well, he could get up in the MVP category. So I like that for you, Kerry. Trevor Lawrence, good guy and a good smile. I know you like your smiles. Nick Chubb, Jahmyr Gibbs. Nick Chubb. I would have taken him in the second round personally, but you know what? You got your guy. He's a good, solid, reliable running back. Jahmyr Gibbs, one of those guys that he's a rookie like Bijan Robinson, so you just never know what you're going to get from him, but there's a lot of upside there. And coming from Bama, I know Aunt Carol likes him, so that's good on you. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I envy you. So I loved having Amon-Ra last year. So you're gonna love him too, Carrie. Trust me. Wow, good job. T. Higgins, not an even number, but whatever. Good receiver. Backing up not backing up, but just the second option to Jamar Chase in that offense. But he's been a very solid, reliable receiver. So I do think that's a good pickup for you. Don't really have much to say on Freiermuth. He's just a filler tight end, but who knows? Could be good. Brees Hall going with mom's Iowa State boy. So and he was going off last year. I really liked him last year, but he unfortunately he got hurt, tore his ACL, and he's out for the season. But he'll be back this year. I don't know if he'll be back week one, but long term for the season, I like that. So you got really good overall starting lineup. Commanders defense, I think that was. I mean, who knows? I could be wrong. I think that's more of like a matchup thing. I mean, they do have a great front seven, don't get me wrong, but they are playing the Cardinals week one, so I think that was a nice little smart pickup carry. Either that or you just didn't know what to do and you picked them and you're just like, yay. But you know what? Good job. Tyler Bass, solid kicker. DJ Moore being your first receiver off your bench, I think that's good. It's good for Justin Fields to have his wide receiver one now. So and I feel like he'll be a guy that you could easily interchange with Brees at flex or maybe even with T at your second wide receiver spot from time to time. So I think that's good. James Cook's going to get a lot of the load at running back for Buffalo, so another good one. Marquise Brown in a really weak Cardinals offense. I mean, they're not going to be really good in the passing game this year, I think, but he's still number one receiver. So on that team. So he'll get you a lot of catches. So that's really good. Elijah Moore, I mean, I don't really know much. I mean, I know he came from the Jets. Um, I think he's the number two or maybe number three receiver at Cleveland. I'm not sure, but who knows? Shock us. Kirk Cousins, nice guy. I know. After watching quarterback on Netflix, I have to say it. Kirk Cousins is a nice guy. So, and he's a solid backup in fantasy. He's never really been like a fantasy starter, like at least, he's been the starter in fantasy, just not like a consistent, like, oh, you have to have him as like a starter. But it's a good guy to have just in case, things go wrong. And then Tank Bigsby, great name, love it. And then Van Jefferson. I mean, that one actually might be a really good pickup early. I mean, you probably won't play him, but I mean, he'll be the number one receiver for the Rams at least to start off the season. So yeah, who knows? And then to cap things off, my nemesis from this draft, John Lopp. You have you did pretty well. You did pretty well. Getting Bijan and Saquon. I mean, you're kind of like Garrett, where I really like your running back group, especially if it's kind of one of those like if things turn out well, right? So you got Bijan and Saquon as your starters, and then Alvin Kamara. I mean, yeah, he's gonna be suspended, so he won't be playing the first 2 weeks. But to get him at where you got him at in the draft, like that's great. You're gonna be interchanging him at flex or maybe even starting at running back if Bijan gets off to a slow start or if Saquon gets hurt. That's good to have. And then also Jonathan Taylor. We don't know how long he's gonna be out for, but I mean, you got him late, like late in the draft. Like I think round. I don't want to. I could go back to the draft recap, but anyway, point is your running back group, lot of potential, and I really like it. Justin Herbert, I'm jealous. You got Herbert, good job. Can't go wrong. Tyler Lockett and Jalen Waddle, they're both. So it's interesting because they're both technically number two wide receivers, but they're both good enough to be number ones, and they both produce. So I think that's actually a pretty good, solid duo. Tyler Higbee is your tight end. Could have done better, but also could have done worse. But I do think Dalton Kincaid will have a good. Well, he might be a sneaky good like rookie tight end, maybe even possibly rookie of the year if he does really well with Josh Allen. So having him as your backup tight end, I think that's really good for you. Jags defense, I'm not sure. I mean, they were pretty good last year. They're in a weak division, so that's another thing, and also might be based on matchups. So, and then Gabe Davis, he's the number two receiver in Buffalo now. So, pretty solid guy. I think he's just there for now, but once Cooper Kupp gets healthy, you'll be able to. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, you have Cooper Kupp. Duh, how did I forget that? So, I, yeah, I really do like your group a lot, John. I think you killed it this draft, and getting rookies like Addison and Smith and Jigba. Wow, good job. And just put the bow on the gift. That's not the right way to say it. Anyway, you got Dak as your backup, which is great. So good job. Um, so I'm looking at my time, and I actually am on a timer, so I might not have enough time to go over matchups this week. Um, I did want to take one last look at just some free agents out there, just to show you guys who's still available. I mean, you got Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. Now, we're not really expecting much, so you do have like Jordan Love. Who knows? Who knows how he'll do with Green Bay? Sam Howell, first year starter. Bryce Young got the rookie QBs out here. Stroud. Running backs, nothing really impresses me there. Um, Devin Singletary is going to be the second guy to Pierce. Overall, these are just a bunch of backup running back. I mean, as of right now, none of them really come at me, or jump out. Wide receiver, Nico Collins didn't get drafted. That's surprising to me because he's been drafted in all the leagues I've been in so far. Same with Darnell Mooney. But and then Tutu Atwell, he's only up there just because he's, Cooper Kupp's injury, but so no need to worry about him. Um, Tight ends, I really don't think there's going to be much here other than Juwan Johnson, who's okay. Sam Laporta, I thought about drafting him, but I realized I needed a Packer, so I went with Musgrave instead. I mean, he was a top tight end pick. I think he was like a first overall, not first overall, but he was one of the Lions' first two first round picks, if I'm not mistaken. So, um, and then yeah, defenses. No one needs to worry about defense kickers, but point is, there's some good free agents out there. Not enough in my opinion, but overall, I think that this was a good draft, and I will try tomorrow to put out a quick episode on matchups, just going over matchups. I mean, I could do it later, like Friday or Saturday, but then there already been the Thursday night game. So, and I kind of want to give people a chance, like maybe just take a look, set their roster, set their lineup. So I will try to put this episode out late tonight or maybe even tomorrow morning. I'll let you guys know when the episode's out, and then I'll do a matchup video after work tomorrow, right before the game. So yeah, there you have it. That was a draft recap. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna reach out to some of you to see if any of you'd be interested to join on a call and would like to be part of one of these episodes. So thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. Looking forward to this great season we're about to have. And yeah, let's do it. All right. I'm Paul Jensen, and that was the Danker Family Fantasy Football Podcast, aka the DFFFP. See ya.